Hello and welcome to this week's Soulful Business Series interview. Today I have with me Mira Living, who is in Canada at the moment, but she lives in Australia ordinarily, and she runs a business called Business from the Heart. Mira is one of those radical thinkers in business. She doesn't conform to convention because she really does follow her heart. She follows her intuition implicitly, and it's something I greatly admire about her. And she has immense courage on her business journey. She's moved from being an entrepreneur, running a clinic for a few years, then creating Business from the Heart. And more recently, she's moved into working in the gift economy. So I'm going to talk to Mira today a little bit about her journey and where she's heading. And let's see what juicy topics we can uncover today. Welcome, Mira.
It's an honor to be here, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you for staying up late to be here. So, first question for you, which I would really love to know, is what is soulful business to you personally?
Mostly it's a sense of not having a choice, a sense of being called or moved, a sense of being connected to something far, far bigger than this small self inside these bones and this skin. Yeah.
And how has that something, is that something that's always been present for you since you started out in business, or has it been something that evolved along the way? Tell us about that journey.
Had to work long and hard to get here. A theme that's been repeated by many of the incredible people who've been interviewed so far on this series. What would be the nutshell version? Okay, so basically what I do is I teach authentic marketing. I teach how do we be ourselves in this world that tells us that the heart isn't really valued, that feelings matter less than thoughts. How do we show up in that world as people who are driven primarily from the heart space? And I came to this journey through leaving myself massively, through believing the illusion that if I worked hard enough and if I pushed myself and if I aimed for certain dollar amounts, if I had goals in my business, then I would actually feel successful, I would actually be successful, and I would actually have arrived somewhere and be happy. And that was seen through at some point through a massive failure. And it wasn't something I wanted to see. About the last year when I was running my clinic on the Gold Coast, I was horrendously depressed. I was treating myself very badly, as in obsessing about my work all the time, working 40, 60 hours a week, surviving on caffeine and sugar, pushing myself, learning everything I could about marketing, because clearly I didn't know enough about business because it wasn't working. The results weren't there consistently, or they'd be there incredibly, and I'd feel really valued and amazing and fulfilled in a good week, and then next week where maybe there'd be less than half that or nothing, and I'd be like, no. My entire sense of self-worth became wrapped up in my ability to make money. So eventually, after a year of that journey of not wanting to see the truth, I went to a healer who told me on our third session, she was an intuitive healer. I'm laying it out for her. I'm like, please tell me now what's going on with my work. Why is this thing not flowing, despite the fact that all of my time and my energy and the vast amount of resources and money and education that I've put into this, why is this not working? And she looked at me and she got really still and up close and quiet and said, you're not ready. You will never be ready. You could keep working 60 hours a week and it will make no difference at all. And yes, in that moment, my heart broke, and that kind of became about 4 or 5 months after that, this pit of despair, until eventually I was at an ashram in silence, and I found an ability to laugh at myself and just kind of realize how seriously we take ourselves as humans. And I never sort of looked back from that. So that place of, is it really worth me leaving myself to try to be someone I'm not, to put on makeup, to wear a collared shirt, to play the game? Is it really worth it? Is anything really worth it? And if that's what success means in this world, do I actually want that? And emphatically, my answer has been no. And that hasn't changed. So it's pretty cutting edge stuff, like that's not the primary message we receive from people around us. We are told that it has to look a certain way in order to get certain results. So to directly challenge that is very, a wild ride.
Yeah,
And probably one of the most common things people say to me is, wow, Mira, you're so courageous. You're just like, wow, how do you keep doing this? You're just, wow, you are so brave. And it never really goes in, it never really touches me because it doesn't feel like bravery. It feels like that soulful business. It feels like maybe this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to push the boundaries a little bit. I'm here to walk a different path. I'm here to challenge everything I believe to be true about the world and who we are as humans and spiritual beings. And it just hurts too much if I don't do that. So it's not really bravery, it's something else.
Yeah, like you said before, it's like you have to do it. There's not, you're just being true to yourself, aren't you? And that's what soulful business is. And it's very much like you said about redefining success based on what is success to you personally, and it's different to everyone, rather than what we've been sold that success actually is. What is success to you?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question, and I love giving voice to it. And what I've found is that we need to give voice to it constantly, because the dominant messages that exist and are alive in every person around us will tell us that we are not successful unless we own a house and have $450,000 worth of debt and a retirement plan and insurance. That's what the world will tell us. So it's ongoing work. It's not a one-time thing, this what is success to me. But mostly how I define it is a feeling of connection. If I feel connected to what I'm doing, if I feel connected to you, even if it's just in one moment, then what a gift, what a beautiful thing to share. I make it very small. Like, I think it was, having had this journey with massive failure and the destruction of what it is to truly believe that you are a failure as a human being because none of your work has actually allowed you to achieve the thing that you wanted to achieve. There's been a beautiful ocean of research into different ways of being with the experience of failure. And one of my favorites is the love guru, Mike Meyer. And he's like, there is no such thing as failure, only early attempts at success. So it always makes me smile. Yeah. So that's also success for me. Can I laugh at myself? Can I hold this vision lightly? Can I be with it in such a way that there's a knowing that it's not in my hands whether or not this actually comes to fruition? Can I give it as an offering to spirit and let go of it? Can I put all of my heart and my focus and my love into consciously creating this thing and then equal to that know that it may not happen? That's success for me.
Yeah, beautiful. And such clarity in the now, as you say, your definition of success is always evolving, isn't it?
Yeah, well, part of my journey with business, and particularly before I made the shift into the gift economy, was I got so far away from this present moment that I could barely even recognize myself, let alone feel genuine connection to the work I was doing. I just, pretty much existed from here up. And was doing my best to do the work of grounding my body, of having some kind of practice and some kind of way of being that took me out of that, and intensely incredible upper chakra space and put me down here into the earth where my body is. And yeah, that would come and go. I'd had a fleeting connection to it, so it hurt having such a distant connection with this present moment.
Because it's that constant striving, isn't it? That more, and that's the common definition of success. There's always more. There's always better. There's no more that can be achieved, and sometimes that can really take us out of our bodies and out of our connection to ourselves. So I'm interested to know how that transition in your thinking or your view of your business from running a business where you earned lots of money, or you charged a reasonable amount for your services, to then charging with no fixed price tag for the same services. How was that for you? How did that come about?
Okay. The Reader's Digest version. I'm not particularly good at brevity, so hopefully at least it's an entertaining sojourn. Yep. So after I had this period of bleak despair when my first business failed spectacularly, I eventually, as happens, on the journey of life, gathered my courage again and got back up there and connected personally with a couple of yoga teachers I knew. I figured I had reams and reams and reams and reams of real life business and marketing experience. And I'd done all the seminars, I'd read all the books, I'd worked with so many different coaches. I had success talk coming out of my ears, and I knew the details of marketing. So I thought I would approach them and see if I could help them. All they really wanted to do was just teach yoga. So I just said, hey, I can do this, this, and this for you. Would you like my help? And they both said yes. So that was the humble origins of Business from the Heart. And 3.5 years into that business, kind of a similar thing was happening. Yeah. So I was relatively successful, like in terms of monetary figures. I probably wasn't successful compared to the average Australian. But for me, I was making $1 to $2 grand every week reliably. Things were flowing. There was buzz. There was a sense that my business had grown its own legs and it could stand on its own, and it didn't need so much babysitting from me. But yeah, I started to lose that elusive thing called balance and this connection with the present moment, and had various other personal things going on. Some quite deep stuff that was challenging my soul on a level that I hadn't been challenged before. I left a yoga organization that I'd given my life to, and there was a sort of a sense of destruction of who I was. And at the time when I was going through all this stuff, a friend of mine started sharing on Facebook that he was going to the Philippines to help out after the devastation of Typhoon Yollana. 6,500 people died near Tacloban. And something in me beyond any choice just went, yeah, I'm going to the Philippines. And 2 months, month and a half after that thing, I had given away everything I owned, given away my car, so I no longer had 30 grand worth of debt hanging over me, let go of my life, and went to the Philippines for 4 months. So when I was there, it was an incredible reawakening of who are we as humans and what is happiness. And for the first time in my life, I met people I would genuinely say are happy. And these people had nothing. They had dirt floors. They had barely any food to eat, no electricity, no indoor plumbing. But they were so happy. And that, seeing it and feeling it, flew in the face of everything that I'd been taught about how to achieve happiness. there was one particular moment that I recall where this beautiful woman who would come and do our washing. So we would pay, you know, a few dollars for this woman who had five small children under the age of 10. She'd come wash our clothes by hand. There's no machines in the little village where I was. And she was digging in her front yard. As I passed, I would walk to catch a tricycle, a little motorbike with a sidecar, to go into town to do the shopping and stuff. And she was digging up sweet potatoes, and we stopped to have a chat. And I saw the sweet potatoes in her hand. There were 5 of them, and they were tiny. They were like these baby little sweet potatoes. And that moment, my heart just went, oh wow, this is life or death. This is survival. You know, this woman cannot wait until the potatoes get bigger. Okay, she has nothing else to feed her family. Yet the spirit and the smiles and the sense of peace that she felt in her connection to her community and the people around her was extraordinary. So yeah, had an awakening, came back and could not connect with Mira the entrepreneur, Mira the teacher, Mira the woman who actually cared about making $1,000 or $2,000 a week. No part of me could find anything real in that to get back on the horse and get back to life as normal. Enter the gift economy. So, yeah.
Wow, that's such a life-changing experience, and I totally feel how you cannot return from that to your old life. You know, it really alters your destiny almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
A complete reversal of everything I thought I knew about happiness. As one of the locals told me once, when I asked him about it, and he said, well, you know, we're happy because we have each other. That's all we need. And I realized how far away I was. I think a lot of what I felt over there was grief of how separately we live in the West, and how safe we are, and how dead we are at the same time.
And that's one of the key principles of the gift economy is connection with other human beings, isn't it? And not allowing money to act as a barrier or a means of separation between us, because if we can pay for everything and we can have all of our needs met, it often actually distances us or isolates us from the people around us, from our community. So tell me more about your experience of the gift economy in that respect, in terms of connection and what you discovered from leaving money not out of the equation, but having it as a secondary component of that exchange.
Oh, it's a difficult question. I feel like I'm a baby to the gift economy. It's only been just under a year now, and yeah, it's been a wild ride of unpicking the money stories within myself at deeper and deeper levels, and noticing how alive it is in every single person I meet. We are economic beings first and foremost. This is the world we've been born into. We've been taught to view each other and our lives through the lens of economic value and worth, and questioning that is one of the most confronting and deeply liberating things any of us could ever do. And it takes hard work. It takes humility, and it takes time. And whether you're going to that level of unpicking your relationship with money, or whether you're looking at your own sense of worth and how that is tied up in your ability to make money through your business, it's challenging, it's confronting, it's scary as hell, and there's no reliable guides except for our own heart. There's a lot of amazing teachers out there. Charles Eisenstein is blessed to call him my teacher and probably one of the most prolific writers on this topic of the potential of the gift economy. Even when he speaks about it, that there's no how-to prescriptions. The point is we don't know how to reclaim community. We don't know how to truly trust each other because money has been the lens through which we viewed each other for so long. But there's little signposts along the way. We can point to them, what feels like love, what feels like service, what makes each of us feel truly held, what brings each of us to the sacred. All of these things are invitations back to a more real way of being with ourselves and the earth and each other in relation to money. And something I often feel the need to say pretty early on is that I don't recommend anyone step into the gift economy. It's not a path to just kind of go in all guns blazing. If we do, we're probably destined to fail without a backup plan because it's so radical. It's so far left of center. I've had the experience many times of talking about questioning our relationship with money and just, kind of watching the light go out of people's eyes because it's like, yeah, and we got to eat. It's too radical,
too much, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's limiting and disconnecting as well. And I need to honor that, and I need to respect where each of us are on the journey, including the people who are living according to values I personally don't hold, such as, owning a house in suburbia. Like, there's a rightness to that too. And it's all welcome here and it's all perfect. And it's something I need to remind myself at times, because giving myself a beautiful education in activism and sacred activism and the earth and the way things are, it kind of, wakes up something and inside, and it can narrow the lens. Yeah, it can make us become a little bit harsh or a little bit angry toward anyone who we might perceive as, being lost in ignorance or whatever. And that's definitely not the energy that we need more of. So walking that path for ourselves, finding a way how to return to love, especially in our relationship with money, as a place to start to question even, is radical, but it's extraordinarily liberating.
Yeah, I really like that point that you made just then about questioning our relationship with money, and that's really what it's about. It's not whether we choose gift economy or we choose, to go into even mainstream business. It's more about, are we just operating almost brainwashed or prescribing to the status quo without questioning it? And that's certainly something, I've experienced in my business, doing some some radical things myself around money and how I charge for my services. Really, that's about asking the question, challenging people to think outside the box. That's how we find the answers that we're seeking, and how we find that connection to ourselves and what works for each of us. Would you agree with that?
Oh, every single word. Every single word. And it's hard work, and we can't do it alone.
Yeah, that's it.
We need each other to support each other through that too. We need each other to say, yeah, your different values and your different way of being in the world is important. It matters. And this work we do now, through questioning our relationship to money, through questioning if our lives of isolation and separation are really benefiting each other and the earth, we are doing it for our children and our children's children. We are doing it now, and it is a gift that we can even see enough to ask the question. We've been blessed to have that knowing or ability to question, and it doesn't feel like that sometimes. Sometimes it feels like hell.
Why does it feel like hell? Tell me about that. Why is it the opposition you receive from outside of you, the judgment from yourself, or what is that hell feeling around questioning the status quo?
For me, for many years, being someone whose mind can quite easily go to the dark side, and I can get lost in depression. This feeling there's something wrong with me because I am depressed. This feeling there's something wrong with me because I can't play the same game that everyone else seems quite content to play. There must be something wrong with me if every single person around me is living a life I would not choose. I must be wrong. I must be the freak. I must be the alien. That's an incredibly painful way to feel. So there was a lot of self-judgment involved in that. One of the ideas I've been sitting with lately that I've heard from a couple different sources in this realm of sacred activism, that it's proper for us to feel that way. If you are a heart-based person and you struggle with being in this world, it's proper that we struggle because something needs to change here, and we're part of that. Continuing on as if there were no issues and that the orangutans weren't dying and that it didn't hurt to feel so alone on a crowded bus of people connected to their mobile phones is not necessarily a sign of health and well-being. It's proper that we feel something when there's dissonance that we're witnessing.
Thank you for speaking about that, because it's something that I think, and certainly in the audience, there's a lot of fringe dwellers out there who are really feeling this, people who really are in the question of what on earth are we doing in society, looking around and not being able to connect with anyone who can identify with that feeling of going, hey, wake up. And many people are suppressing that feeling. Even people who haven't had the conscious thought of it are still suppressing that feeling. And it's really good to have that out in the open and to shine light on that feeling of, is there something wrong? There must be something wrong with me because I don't align with this society that is actually ailing.
Yeah.
And that is the truth. The truth is our society is ailing. So what are we, each of us, what are we going to do in the choices that we make each day to be true to what we know is possible and we know is the truth of humanity? Those fundamental principles of kindness and love, and infusing those into our work, because our business is such a beautiful vehicle, isn't it, for sharing that, for making an impact and connecting with people that you wouldn't otherwise connect with.
It's one of the most powerful vehicles there is because it fits in with our culture where it is now. It fits in with the lens of economic views. So if you are a yoga teacher or a healer or a creative soul and you are successfully seen in the world in a continued sense, if you are able to keep going for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if you are able to keep showing up, that in itself is profound. That in itself is evidence that through your very presence, shift is happening. And there's this piece about keeping it very simple. Often with my clients, there's a place of desperation. They've been doing everything they can think of. They've been madly educating themselves. They've been taking action consistently in their business, and it's not working for them. And my suggestion very gently is often, forget about all that. What do you need to keep going? What is the bare minimum you need to keep going? And if you can't do that through your business right now, who cares? Go get a part-time job, or this is pretty radical, but I'm going to say it anyway. Start looking at the resources in your life in a new and different way. Maybe you're spending money that you think is necessary into the mainstream economy, but it's actually not. Maybe you're paying for things you can borrow from people around you. Maybe your business is paying for convenience. And if we could maybe reclaim some of those dollars, then you could take the pressure off a little bit and not feel in such a place of desperation, because as we all know, that feels horrible to be in that state. I know that state well, and it's really difficult to grow a business from a place of desperation. So how can we create a container for ourselves? We do it through our choices around how we spend money, and we do it through our choices of how we live. And we can take that as far as we want to go as individuals. There's some, really extreme people out there who have done this amazing work on living with no money. It's possible, like that. Even that's radical. And I'm not suggesting you do that. It's just the questioning of it that is the transformative path, because there's only going to be your answer. No one else has the answer. Unfortunately, I have spent many years looking outside myself for like someone, please tell me what to do. Just give me like the ABCs of know how to have an enlightened relationship with money, please. And no, only our own individual ways. So what if the resource in your life was free accommodation at your parents' home? Like, it's a question I know that I would never have wanted to consider or look at for the first 5 years of being in business. Working in the gift economy, I've looked at it. Haven't done it, but I've looked at it. Like, there's no limits. It's just the being willing to see the resources we already have. Every dollar we spend in our life is a dollar our business has to provide for. And that's quite a different way of looking at things. But if we can start to have that, I would say, a sacred relationship with money, with every little outlet that we put money into, things shift for us. And I don't necessarily mean you have to wind up living like a miser. It's just there's more of the sense of empowerment and confidence around it. We're no longer going, oh, I don't have enough. And it's this huge story that's just, I don't have enough money, because that's like, it's so boring, that story. Everyone that I know has expressed that at some point. I would say the majority of people on earth believe that their real problem is that they don't have enough money. And maybe that's the first question.
That's a whole other
It's a good place to start. Is it even true that I don't have enough money? Is it even really true?
Yeah, and is it even coming from money, or is it just the belief that I don't have enough?
Oh, juicy topic. Oh, I love it.
We won't delve into that one too much. That's huge. So, I did want to ask though, on that practical note, you wrote an article recently on, reasons not to go into the gift economy, and you suggested some middle of the road strategies that people could apply in their business to kind of, I don't know, expand their own perspective and the perspectives of the clients around money. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Oh, beautiful. I guess the first part of it, I don't think the article went into this, but the first part of it is finding your own way to clarity around, do you actually want a business? It's a huge question. And it's well and truly worth asking at periodic points on your journey, because as we've been exploring this topic of soulful business, as everyone else has spoken to, it shifts and changes. It has to. It's an evolutionary path. So if you're feeling any discontent or dissatisfaction or resentment building, is often a really good signpost to look for, to question, is this really what I want? Do I want to run a business? Or do I want to just create? They're both valid. They're both worthy causes. Which one is more true for you? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be a business. There are other ways of being supported for your heart's offering to the planet. If you are in the container of the business and the vision of the gift economy, the vision of what if we could give unconditionally to each other and trust each other enough to know that we would be supported no matter what. What if? There's quite a few ways you can embody those in your business right now. Things like having some kind of community offering, getting together with a group of other practitioners and maybe having a healing day once a month where you give half-price treatments, that kind of thing. Something that feels like it's an offering back that isn't dependent on money is the energy. Maybe it's a weekly community yoga class, a $5 yoga class rather than a $20 yoga class. Maybe you run specific fundraisers for causes in your community, and this is something very keyed into, that this future we're all heading to, whether it's 100 years or 200 years from now, it has to be local. We have to be able to feel complete and whole and be able to survive in our human tribe locally. So what locally can you give back now? Where are the people in your local community who need some help? What is revealed to you if you start looking for where you can be of service? Another way is to do things like, I know, Natalie, you're doing it with your really flexible payment plans for people who are already coming toward you, already saying, look, I really appreciate your work and I want to work with you. I just don't have the money right now. How can we as business owners hold space for that and honor them in that? Not to the point where we are not meeting the basic expenses of our business, but to the point that is an opening. I love that. Natalie, we were just speaking before that I've heard that kind of decried as giving special treatment to the few. And I just think that's utter crap, because I know for me, I would not have been able to afford to be involved in many incredible training programs and retreats and spiritual space holding over the past 7 years as a business owner if it wasn't for the flexibility and love and trust of the person holding that space. It's a huge gift you can give to someone. The trick is to wait until someone asks you for it. You don't just kind of put it out there. So to be open and to see what comes. Some of my other favorite ones are like, be open to the heart's desire to give. We're here to give. It's like life. If we don't give, we shrivel. When your heart feels a genuine urge, a pure urge to give to a particular person, even though you know they can't afford it, follow it. Business education and success talk and self-development coaches will tell you that's a wrong urge, that you will never be successful, that you will never make enough, that you will never, achieve world domination if you don't stop giving. And I would question that. I would just say, be open to the heart's desire to give when it comes from a pure place. And if you start a giving relationship with someone that you genuinely want to serve and that changes for you, you start to notice you become a little resentful or a little bit holding back or a little bit, I've got this person and I really don't want to see them. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. Then that you honor yourself in that as well.
Yeah, that's so, I love it because, it just highlights how important feeling is in business. You have to listen to your intuition in every single situation you find yourself in. There is no one blanket solution or mode of operation in every, when it comes to every single person. So if you're offering something, like you say, like you feel the urge to give and it feels really good, go with that. But if it doesn't feel good, then it's trying to tell you something's out of balance. And sometimes it is that we're not receiving for everything that we give. So it's definitely that fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah, ultimate self-responsibility. No one else is going to listen to the heart feeling resentful but us. No one else is going to say, okay, you've given enough now. You stop. We need to be able to say no. And I love this path of business and all of these incredible teachers like you, Natalie, out there sharing that it can be done from the heart, because it is hands down the most transformative and powerful spiritual path and practice any heart-based person could ever consciously walk upon. It will rock everything that you believe to be true, and you will find reservoirs of strength and power that you would not have discovered any other way. It's extraordinary, the depth of courage that we find within us that only comes from this path, and our willingness to keep showing up and do the hard work and go a little bit out of balance at times, or a lot out of balance, and then keep asking, what do I need to keep going? How can I be responsible for this? What is needed here?
Yeah, beautiful. That's like, it feels like the perfect note to finish up on. You've just summed up everything that we've talked about today, and what it ultimately comes down to is, living, the highest version of ourselves, become, really stretching ourselves beyond what we think is possible, and really being a gift to the world for that reason alone, simply because we're willing to question the status quo. We're willing to be courageous and step out of the norm. So I love that you live that, Mira. You're such a wonderful pioneer in radical business. So thank you so much for being here. And is there anything else you'd like to say as a final message to people out there who are really exploring some of these topics today? What would be your gem of wisdom?
To be patient. This place of mastery, of being able to truly walk the talk, do our 10,000 hours, takes years and years and years. If we can do what needs to be done to keep showing up, the coming years will open for us in ways we cannot even imagine from where we are now. So if you're maybe 1 or 2 years into your business and you're questioning everything and you're maybe not so sure if you can keep going, this cannot be done overnight. It cannot be done in 1 or 2 years. This is a lifetime's work. This is us leaving a legacy for the next 7 generations. This is the most important work we could possibly do right now. And it's needed. It's desperately needed. And it may not have rewards or riches upon it for you personally. And the deeper question there is, would you still do it? Would you still give your gift even if you knew it was doomed to fail? Would you still give your gift even if you knew that the majority of people would never hear your message? Would you still give what is here inside you to give?
Beautiful, so profound. Thank you, Mira. So please tell our audience how they can connect with you and your community.
Just rock on over to businessfromtheheart.com and come join the community. I send out emails when inspired. Often they're very long and blathering, but hopefully useful, hopefully giving some little bit of confirmation to a part of you that maybe isn't seen in this world of 5-step models to success. Something a little bit off the beaten path. Yeah, it's an honor to be here, Nat.
Oh, thank you. And Mira's got some interesting changes coming up in her business. So if you're on her mailing list, you'll find all about that. So coming soon. So thank you, Mira, for being here. Such an enlightening conversation as always with you. And I hope so too for all of you out there. Lots of love from both of us.
Mwah.